Good evening, my fellow friends. Welcome aboard the YouTube live stream here. We're going to get started here in just a second. Been reading a couple articles today that it has me concerned, I suppose, in a way, but the inevitable is coming, and you better be prepared. Be prepared, because it's going to be pretty ugly. No other way around that. And we'll dive into this here in just a second when some people get on board here. Chicken Charlie, K Paso. So just while we're starting, gravity is so intense, so amazing, so incredible. It's so huge, gravity is, in terms of the universe. Gravity is so amazing that a little change in air pressure just disintegrates gravity. Isn't that amazing? Gravity can. I'm just thinking about this thing because there's a guy on my thing who's so endowed with gravity. Gravity has changed the universe, and yet you're sitting there thinking, okay, so I drop this right here. I drop that. What is that? That's not gravity. That's a pen being dropped. I drop it into some water, and all of a sudden, it no longer gravity no longer applies. Isn't that it's just amazing when you think about it? It's just fun to think, fun to be wondered. So here's gravity. Put a little bit of water in there, change a little bit of air pressure, and gravity is defeated. More to come on that. Oh my goodness! It just goes back to the articles I was reading today from I think it's Scientific American, where this Harvard physicist or something like that is saying we don't really know what happened before the Big Bang, as if we know about the Big Bang, but we'll grant them that we don't really know. But before the Big Bang, we don't know anything. So maybe we are all manipulated by alien technology, and we are just one of their many, many universes. Just the lack of wonder among people is amazing. And the interesting thing is the physicists have, and cosmetologists or whatever they're called, cosmologists, they have wonder. They do. They wonder, man. The problem is they just cannot believe that there could be a God. They can't. They cannot. But yeah, there could be aliens. There could be multi-universes. There could be anything other than a divine creation that we would call God. That's amazing. All right. So gravity? No. Pen drop. Change the air pressure, it no longer drops. But gravity controls the universe. It controls it. All right. The stream was going to be yesterday too, Marie, but what happened yesterday? I forgot we were doing something yesterday. So, we had the World Series on, Marie. Give me a break, man. You got to watch the World Series. Come on. All right. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, right here. Before the Big Bang, nothing turned into something. And that's their belief. I will always draw this until I'm blue in the face. So there's literally nothing. So here is where we take our pen on a blank piece of paper and draw just a tiny little dot there. And everything came from that little dot right there. Everything came from something even small, infinitesimal, smaller than that little dot. The absurdity of that, man. Now, could God do it? Absolutely. Absolutely, God. Because God is God. He's all endowed for all things. But the idea that just all things is dark matter, and it just blew up, and gravity makes everything go round, and yet also takes a tiny change in air pressure is no more gravity. It's no, I'm not streaming on Rumble tonight, Jim. It's just I just got on here kind of half-ass, and I didn't feel setting up on Rumble's a pain. It's not that hard. It's kind of a pain to do. Frankly, you gotta. It's like I don't know. I'm kind of lazy. Like 10 clicks, and then you gotta. It's not that difficult, but I just want to get on here right now while I still had some gumption in me because I want to talk about this article about the recession that's coming, and it's inevitable, man. No other way around that. And again, recession doesn't mean you sell your stocks, for heaven's sakes, man. So please identify where you are in the accumulation versus decumulation phase here, because this is what matters. You just got to identify this. And if you're in the accumulation phase, and you will be for another 5 to 10 years, man, just hang tight. Have some money in cash without question, just to pay if the roof goes off or something like that. But for heaven's sake, you do not need to get out of the market because of recession. That's just silly. You don't need to do that. But with that said, a recession may lead into a depression. So if you're close to the decumulation stage, you gotta friggin' take precautions, man. This isn't rocket science. And people say, but I could be doing what do they say? Like my mortgage, for instance, pay off your mortgage. I was talking to a guy today, a client, a friggin' nice guy, lives in Boise. He and his wife haven't worked for 2 years. They got $600,000. House has paid for. And that's it. 58, something like that. 59, 57, 58, something like that. But late 50s, they don't need much because they don't have any debt. They don't spend that. I mean, it's just that simple. They're content. They have a little bit of a motorhome that they travel around to go to the national parks, or they can go up to Montana for $20 or something like that. And they just go hunting and fishing and hiking. They're just freaking loving life, man. They just don't need that much. I tell you, they don't spend that much. Their mortgage is paid. They only got $600,000 in an IRA. They're going to qualify for Obamacare subsidies like crazy. They're already on it. Their Social Security is probably going to, once they take Social Security at 67, it's going to cover all their income needs. They just don't need that much. And I said, well, once you hit 60, just start pulling $45,000 a year from your IRA. Do that until you hit Social Security. Then when the RMDs come, you're right back, but it won't be 45,000 a year. It'll be 20,000 for RMDs plus your Social Security. You're gonna have positive income. But what if they need nursing home? That's what their house is for. All right. So let's talk about this. I want to jump in here real quick. Yeah, Kenny can't hang up. Got to get up at 5. Right on, man. Well, I'm coming on late. I was watching some show with my sons. And my wife was on board tonight, so it's fun. We're watching some TV, we don't really watch a whole lot of TV. But yeah, it's fun to hang out with the kids and watch some, especially as the kids get older. So we weren't actually. My man Brad says price out of control. So I just got a full rack of ribs tonight for barbecue from a place here locally called Q. Normally it's $22. Tonight it was $32 for a full rack of ribs. There you go. That's inflation. Look, I 100%. I'm a deflationary guy. Demographics, all that leads to deflation. The short term is going to be inflationary, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be ugly, and we're going to go into why. So let's jump into this. Hey, Denise, Cape Paso. Yeah, right here. My man Jake up in Western Mass, retired, Wellesley fund here, sleeps well at night, hasn't touched his IRA money in 16 months. Right 100%, man. All right, my nose itches. I guess stop doing that white powder. All right, so let's go here real quick. All right, so all right, so first of all, if you're not reading Conservative Treehouse, you're wrong, and you need to be. Especially as elections come down the pike, this guy right here is just he's awesome, without question. Now, Conservative Treehouse got banned from AWS. Were they on AWS? Whatever their host was, they got banned from. We don't know why. So he started it's not. So they can, this is before Parler. Conservative Treehouse got banned from whatever their hosting service was. I think it was AWS. And we're like, dude, he's just a right winger. He's not even actually a right winger. He can't stand the Republicans either. But the idea that Sundance could get banned from whatever his host was is nuts. But we're just going to read this article because it's nuts. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, BEA, has released the first estimate of GDP, gross domestic product, for the third quarter. The top line number of 2% GDP growth is significantly worse than most economists and financial pundits expected. The second quarter GDP was 6.7, so a slowdown to 2% is very significant considering the economy should be rebounding and reopening. However, when we dig into the details, you'll see how what is happening in your life is actually reflected in the data, and it's much worse than what this number shows. None of this should be a surprise, as the data is simply reflecting what is happening in your personal checkbook economics. Just again, to revisit, my man here said, we can come back to this. Said gas where he lives is $3.50 a gallon. All right. Well, I paid about a month ago. I paid $22 for a full rack of ribs. Today I paid $32 for that same full rack of ribs. Nothing added to it. $32. That is a 50% increase. Now, Pork in of itself, I don't know what the price of pork was because I got some ribs from Costco about 3 weeks ago. They're still pretty cheap. But I don't know if I just don't know. But all I know is at the end of the day, from that place, I paid 50% more for a full rack of ribs than I did just 3 weeks ago. That is significant inflation. All right, let's keep going. And because this is going to play a role in this. And this isn't just a short-term blip because the price of cars are way up. Watch, right? First, here's a media jaw agape with false explanations and justifications. Here's CNN. The drop has nothing to do with the Delta variant and everything to do with inflation and impacts from Joe Biden's economic policies. Let's take a look at the details, and you'll see how the national GDP is simply a reflection on what we are doing to survive Sniffy Joe's economy. GDP growth is a measure of what is happening inside the U.S. economy. GDP reflects the value of goods and services produced in the U.S. minus the values of goods and services we import. Consumer spending, as I've said 1,000 times on Sunday, consumer spending represents 2/3 of our overall economy. When Americans stop buying stuff, our GDP drops. When Americans stop buying stuff, our GDP drops because consumer spending represents 2/3 of our GDP. A few things to remember about the value of goods and services. Inventories are an asset. Increases in inventories of goods we produce is a positive driver of GDP. Those inventories become sales, and those sales are calculated in the value of the goods we build, like houses. Considering how much housing values have increased and considering how much more value that should add to the GDP overall, when the economy decelerates as housing values increase, that tells you that something is profoundly askew. So the economy, let me just get off this for a second here, stop sharing. So the price of houses is going through the roof. The economy is decelerating. Huh? What's happening here? That says something right there. On top of that, the price in your pocketbook to pay for a gallon of gas, to pay for a rack of ribs is going through the roof too. So the value of the increasing values of those homes aren't being reflected in most people's just day-to-day consumer spending. It's just not. It might be reflected elsewhere, which we're going to talk about. So let's keep going. Because this is, I'm telling you, man, wait till I show you this chart right here. It's freaking, it's even worse than I anticipated earlier today. Consumer spending represents 2/3 of GDP growth. Now take a look at the data in table 1 right here. Goods, right here. Goods were down 9.2% total. Durable goods were down 26%. Durable goods were down 26%. Personal consumption expenditures were only up 1.6%. What was inflation for that quarter? I can't remember off the top of my head, but look at that. 26% decline in durable goods, only a 2.6% increase in non-durable goods. Woo, Nelly. All right, so let's keep going down. Massive drops in consumer purchases of goods, especially in durable goods. That statistic should not come as a surprise to the conservative treehouse readers who followed along the past few months. That statistic simply is a reflection of what we are doing. We are paying so much more for energy, gasoline, fuel, housing, and food, all because of inflation, that we are not spending on durable goods like cars, trucks, long-term appliances, electronics, and other non-essential items. So everyone's going to blame it on the lack of chips coming in, the lack of inventory for cars. Blame it on the people who can't afford the cars because they're spending more of their pocketbooks on things that we need, energy and food. 26% decline in one quarter is a massive contraction in the purchasing of durable goods. However, it should not be a surprise. Oh, there we go. Inflation increased by 5.4%. Inflation is up 5.4. PCE, personal consumer expenditures, are only up by 1.6. What does that tell you? Look at this. From Q2 is up 12. Q1 is 11.4. What does that tell you, man? We're saying I can't buy as much stuff because it costs too much. All right, let's keep going. Disposable income has collapsed. Disposable income decreased by $29 billion in the third quarter. So I don't know if it's on this chart here. I don't know if it's on the chart here. Yeah. All right. So disposable income decreased by almost $30 billion in the third quarter. That's not annualized. However, this is preliminary estimation and reflects a very skewed data point. With inflation on essential items running much higher than wage growth, the 0.7% decline in personal income is profoundly generous to the Biden administration. We can expect a second estimate, which comes out in late November with more complete details, to be significant downward revision because disposable incomes have dropped much more than 0.7%. Absolutely. Purchases for durable goods do not drop by 26% with only a 0.7% drop in income. Look at your own checkbook. All of us blue collar and working class folks, which I'm not, are hunkering down and prioritizing food, fuel, and home heating cost. We are not buying new stuff. Food, fuel, and home heating costs. And there's a corollary to this, which is being worse. We're not buying new stuff. And food, fuel, and home heating costs are going through the roof. Private residence sales are down 7%. Remember when the conservative treehouse said at a macro level, housing prices peaked in the last 2 weeks of May and the first 2 weeks of June? Here comes another supportive data that the private residence sales are down. There are regional impacts from relocation are driving home values up, like Florida and around here in Georgia. However, overall home values have peaked and only institutional investors, not families, are purchasing them now. I don't know if I agree with that, but if 1 in every 4 purchases is institutional investors, well, that's a record high. Can that continue? I don't know. But if 75% of the purchases are gone to private people, that's a record low. 25% have gone to institutional investors. Then the prices have peaked. What does that tell you? Institutional investors are buying property because they need tangible assets, because their paper assets are extremely vulnerable. I hope you guys are hearing this. They're buying tangible assets because their paper assets are extremely vulnerable. Vanguard and BlackRock purchasing houses gives them a tangible asset that they can leverage for pennies on the dollar for more low interest loans from the Fed. Those houses then can be turned to rental incomes, feeding the mothership. All right. The bottom line is this: the first estimate of Q3 GDP is merely a reflection of what you know is happening in your life around the neighborhood. The next revision of this data will be lower than the first because you can see the first estimate has not yet caught up to the current status as it exists in September. All right, so that's ugly, but doesn't stop there. So I want to show you guys something here. Nope. Right here. This is because now remember, we're not even in the wintertime. It's actually, it's not even in the winter, and it's coming. Energy in Germany. Germany energy prices are going through the roof. Supply tightens as leaders botch energy policy. Prices for natural gas, coal, and electricity have been rising massively since the middle of the year. The price of a kilowatt hour of electricity has almost tripled to 13 euro cents per kilowatt hour. The price of natural gas has increased 5-fold. Politics in Germany are not entirely uninvolved in the development of prices. The reasons are coal power phase out between 2017 and 2021 throughout Europe, and especially in Germany. Tripling of CO2 certificate prices from 2020. Basically, it's a carbon tax, essentially the carbon trading offset. The switch from coal to more expensive gas. Global increase in the demand for gas as a result of post-pandemic recovery. Extremely weak German wind. That's not going to affect us here, but still, you get intermittent electricity generation from solar and wind. You get no electricity generation. And as the winter time comes, you're relying more on coal, which isn't being produced. That means you're relying more on natural gas, which is going to spike it. The demand increases, the supply goes down, the price goes through the roof. Nuclear is being phased out too because we're freaking idiotic in the West. We don't know what the hell we're doing. Here's the Dutch natural gas futures contract. Look at that. A year ago, Trump, I know Trump isn't in Europe, but basically Trump is. When whoever controls the states controls the world. Look at that, 5-fold increase in natural gas contracts. 5-fold in a year's time. Where's that money coming to pay for that? You think this is not going to affect the GDP in Germany? Electricity prices are shooting up. Look at this. The hockey stick. There's Michael Mann, scalawag. There's his hockey stick right there. So right now, the electricity prices for industry has tripled. Industry is where you get your job from, where you get your goods from. And if the industry prices are tripling on electricity, guess what else is tripling? The price of your goods. And guess what else? You will not buy them. There won't be electricity to power electric cars. Another serious problem will be the shortage of secure power generation because the Germans' nuclear and coal phase out, which has already begun. Not only will this be driving up the prices, there'll be risk of power outages as well during the winter time. All right, so that's in Germany. I grant you. People say, oh, Josh, that's Germany. It's no big deal. Well, it's not going to affect us here. You don't think? This is why I say going back to California. As California reverts to Venezuela, it's going to affect us all because California is like the 7th largest economy in the U.S. So escape from California, you redders, you red people. Absolutely. We want you here in Georgia. I was talking to the guy I was talking to in Idaho too, said, man, these people coming from California, Washington, Oregon, they're not libs. They're reds. I said, exactly. That's what we want. All it takes, my friends in California, my furry friends in California, just 10% of you all to leave the red from California, go to Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, and you'll change the world, man. It's on you in California to leave because your vote is irrelevant in California. But it's not irrelevant in Nevada, Idaho, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, Georgia. It's not irrelevant. Virginia is not, man. Florida. Move from the crappy state of California. I recognize the weather is fantastic. I mean, if you get the cash, keep a home there, but re-domicile into a purple state. We need you. It's on you, literally. The world is pending on 10% of the reds in California moving out of that state because your vote is completely irrelevant now. It is. By you staying there, you're basically sacrificing the whole world. Too much pressure? Yeah. Anyway, so what's happening here is, I think I had something else here. Hold on just a second. We had, I don't think this was, well, let's see if I want to do that one. Hold on just a second. Oh, so then we go back to here, just a couple other articles, because this is all part of the big plan. Right here. Is climate alarmism an establishment attempt to restore social control? 100%. 100% it is. Over the years, I've noticed pretty much every establishment attempt to push a climate agenda is accompanied by a call for unity. What if fear of change, loss control, desire of social unity, and predictability are the real force driving behind the climate push? Basically, what's happening is these guys saying we need to change, and the powers that be want you to change. They don't want you to fly. They don't want you to drive. They want you to be their servants. And so when they want you to be their servants, they're going to own the real estate, they own the paper assets, and they control everything else. You can pretend it's not happening. That's fine. That's great. I wish I could live in that fairy tale land. But then we go to the last one here, which is hold on a sec. Oh, not that guy right there. And I'm just going to tell you, it's because there's lies upon lies upon lies. And at some point, it's going to fall apart, which is happening right now. And we're just going to see right here. EPA, U.S. heat wave, heat and cold death rate data exposes and destroys Biden and the Democrats' extreme heat propaganda. So I tell you, man, so going back to what we just said, it's all propaganda to push the narrative that says at the end of the day, we've all got to be green or else we're all going to die in this blaze of fury from the sun. While on the other hand, we're pushing up the prices of everything, electricity, energy as a whole, heating. We're getting rid of coal. We're getting rid of nuclear. They want to get rid of natural gas. They don't have the guts to do it all at once. And we go back to what Obama said in 2008, that electricity prices will go up in his administration. And we're seeing it, man, because Biden doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It's Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett who are running the things, man. You see what I'm saying? It's not Biden, it's Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett. And they're running things, and they wanted under Obama to have the price of electricity and also energy to go up. We're seeing that. So we have huge drops in consumer expenditures in terms of our income. We don't have it. It's not there. It's being squandered on inflation. On top of that, we have a reduction of the ability for us to have coal, no nuclear not allowed, even hydro. And the only thing that is propping us is natural gas. And then you have the closure of pipelines going through New York State, going up into Massachusetts from New Jersey. We're not getting that. Maine has to get hydro from Quebec. This isn't good, man. Now, Maine will say, rightly so, that a portion of their electricity comes from wind. It's evil, but it is what it is. They do get quite a bit of electricity from wind. The problem is most people in Maine don't heat their homes with electricity, you freaking idiots. They heat their homes with fossil fuels, which isn't part of electricity, freaking fools. And so what's happening here, as the winter time sets in, you're already paying more for food. You're already paying more for gas, more for gasoline. And now you're going to pay more for electricity inherently, but you're going to pay a hell of a lot more for home heating fuel too. This is recessionary because GDP is contingent on you open up your wallets, man. Recessionary doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a drop in the stock market, but give me a flipping break. From 2009, we've had 13 years of up and away, up and away. Superman, up and away. I don't know. He might be up and you know what nowadays, because he's no longer a man's man, if you know what I'm saying. He's up and he's, you know what I'm talking about. Superman, up and I'm. It's a crap. You gotta laugh. But the point being is 13 years of this run, one tiny bear market that lasted for 35 days. We had Q4 2018 or 19. 2018, the markets are down 19.4. That's not a bear. It's not a bear. We had Q2 2015 and Q3 2011. The markets are down about 15% each. Not a bear. The only bear market we've had in 13 years was last year for 33 days or something like that. Precautions, my friends. Precautions. Riding that pony as far as you could. And frankly, I would say, even if I was, 5 to 10 years out, I would still take some money and lock that away. I really would. I got money in cash. I'd lock some money away. And you still throw your new money going into the market. I got no qualm with that. Dollar cost averaging is wonderful because you can buy shares when the market gets knocked around. So I love dollar cost averaging. I'm doing that right now. I took lots of gains off the table, paid down some of my mortgage, did a Roth conversion. I got cash, took lots of gains, and I'm still plunging money away each and every month, $1,000 every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. And I plan on doing that for the next basically 10 years or so. And I'll do that fully into VTI. That's exactly what I'm doing. 100% into VTI. No muss, no fuss. And the reason I'm doing that is because I got my cash on the side just in case things go south. I'd love to have my mortgage paid off. Still got a ways yet to go, but I'm working like a crazy man on that too. Point being is, I would have some gains on the side. And, again, it depends on your circumstance, your level of contentment. But I'm 51, man. I only got a couple, I got 7, 8 good years left in me before I'm on the back end of this. I can't do that. So I'm willing to forego some FOMO, fear of missing out. I've had 2 emails today, not one, but 2, both talking about the Fidelity 2030 fund, both saying that they felt they're missing returns on that. Both are within spitting distance of retirement. And that scared me. There's one guy, Mike, a nice guy down in Texas, said, Mike, I'm getting a bad feeling about this, man. You're talking about you feel like you're missing out on returns because you only have the Fidelity 2030 fund. A, he was up. I can't remember off the top of my head, 10% or something like that. So a 10% gain ain't too shabby. B, let's just put it this way. He's on the back end of his working career, like the significant back end, if that makes sense. And as such, I said, dude, you got to adjust your thinking from FOMO to fear of getting killed. So fog key, fear of getting killed. Fear of getting killed. Fog key. That doesn't quite sound like FOMO. Fear of getting obliterated. FOGO. We got to change our mindset from FOMO, fear of missing out, to FOGO, fear of getting obliterated. Ooh, that's pretty good. I should target, what's that called? Trademark that. FOGO. You got to watch it. You got to don't bypass the FOMO, but take advantage of the FOGO for sure. All right. So that's my issuance here tonight, my friends. I tell you, and I'm not a nervous Nelly. My goodness, you believe in the big guy upstairs and his only son, Jesus Christ? You can't be. But that doesn't mean God doesn't create you with a brain to freaking make a rational decision that says, man, protect the downside, protect the downside, protect the downside. If I'm 15 years out, give me some stuff to protect from the downside. Still plug. I don't get people who get too risky. That's fine. I mean, again, I'd say, hey, you know what you should do? You should borrow 100% loan to value on your home. You're only paying 3%. Turn around, invest that. That's a great investment. You can write off the interest purportedly. But why would you not do that? Doesn't make any sense. All right. Let's see what we got here, my friends. Hope you guys understand. Denise says, rightly so, that people don't understand how to take precautions. The problem they don't understand it, Denise, is because they're in the mindset of growth for the sake. This is what happens to corporations, by the way. Now, I got to click on this a lot more lately because I read an article. If you're wondering why I keep doing this, I don't know if you can see it or not, but apparently this helps to lower your blood pressure. I don't know if it does. My blood pressure is actually pretty good. I think it's 130 over 78 or something like that. But I've been doing this a lot lately. It's good for your forearms too, but it does help lower your blood pressure according to YouTube. And you know what Abraham Lincoln says, the internet never lies. And then George Washington had a corollary of that says YouTube never lies. So if George and Abe say it, who am I to judge? But anyway, so Denise people don't have to take precautions because they're so focused on, and this is where, who's that guy? Rob Berger? What's his name? Said the 4%. What did he say? It said the bucket strategy doesn't work. Is Rob Berger or Bob Berger, Bob Brinker, some guy on YouTube. But anyway, he seemed like a nice enough guy. Kind of bored me a little bit. But he said the bucket strategy doesn't work because it's not as efficient. Oh my goodness! When you are in decumulation mode, get out of that whole mindset about efficiency, modern portfolio theory, efficient market hypothesis. None of that stuff matters. Gosh, it drives me freaking batty. All right. Yeah, Beef is through the roof. Hey, there's my man right here who called me a dope smoking freshman. My man Joseph Francis Burton. Ooh, so he did not like what I said on gravity. Look, I don't care. You can disagree with me. Just don't throw ad hominems at me, man. Jeez Louise. I don't get it. It's weird. Like, let's put it this way. If someone said to me, man, the WNBA, you know what they got to do? They got to put the 3-point line back. I'd say, I could care less. I don't care. The WNBA is stupid. I'd never watch it. I don't care. But if you care, go ahead. So why? But I'll never say, oh, you sound like some of my dope smoking freshmen I had in, freaking sports. I'd be like, it's weird, man. I don't understand it. And I said, well, how dare you not stay in your lane? I'm the physicist. I'm like, dude, the wonder of the world isn't just, why do people just not have this? And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's I was raised by hippies who always said question everything. But I love the idea of hearing the counterpoints to prevailing thought process. I don't get why people don't. It's strange to me. It's like literally odd. I'm like, all right, that's what everybody says, but is that true? And then we go back to jabba jabbas, as I always talk about since day one. Where is the proof that the jabba jabbas that we have for MMR, all the other stuff, it works when it's all thrown in children from 0 to the age of 24 months, all the ones they do. And as we can know, there is no proof that is safe. There's not. And even the IOM, the Institute of Medicine, says the same. And the National Academy of Science, I think, is the IOM's, the IOM is, I think, a part of the NAS, I think. So they say it's not safe. They say we don't know. They don't say it's not safe. Let me back up there. They say we don't know. We don't have the ability to study because it put too many children at risk who did not take the vaccine. So what? Let's put it on dog. How about we put on Fauci's beagles there and put them in Mongolia there? IOM. I guarantee you'd be okay with that. So let's throw these 24 CDC approved or mandated essentially vaccines on infant puppies, and we'll see. And let's put Fauci do that, and you can drill into puppies' brains, and you can say we're doing it for humanity. You freaking pieces of crap! Can you imagine what kind of sadist would say I got to drill into a puppy's head to experiment for humanity? String them up. I'm against the death penalty. I'm 100% against the death penalty. And I say string them up. We don't string up and execute them. Just string up and put a freaking sadist sign around him. Make him sit like that for a week or something like that. I'm 100% against the death penalty, and you should too. If you believe the government is inherently flawed, which you absolutely should, you should not be for the death penalty. No way, no how. That's just all there is to it. All right. And there's, I don't want to get to that. All right. So, people are quitting jobs everywhere. Is it because the student loan repayment I don't know, man. I don't know why people are quitting jobs. That's a good question. I just don't have the answer. I tell you, man, Jake, look, everyone could question this. Like, I get it. I just know from my perspective of being a professional financial planner, dope smoking freshman, is that I know that the people who are more solid at retirement have no debt, more so than the people who are not. It's just that simple. That does not mean that if you have debt, you will not be able to retire. No, I'm just saying, if I see a thing that works a lot and a thing that works more significantly more than other things, then I want to have no debt. And that's what I recommend people do the same. Let's see. Why can't I get to the comments? Not letting me go to the comments. Okay. Oh, there we go. Gene, yeah, I saw. Let's see. Oop. Jeremy. Oh, Jeremy. So I'm going to link the article. It's the conservativetreehouse.com. And it's not for you rhino Republicans. I'm telling you. Sundance over the conservative treehouse is more anti-rhino Republicans than he is Democrats. Just be advised. I mean, you can't stand the Democrats, neither can I. But the rhino Republicans, I noticed too. I haven't. Let's see. Did Sundance talk about? So let me give an example real quick on a false flag that's coming from the Republican Party, and let's see if Sundance has talked about it yet. Because I just noticed this today in the news. I was watching local news here in Atlanta. Let's see. I don't care about. I mean, I care. I'm stupid, but there's our president right there. Ron Klain, never elected. There's Bug Eye AOC. If money really doesn't grow on trees, then why do banks have branches? That's freaking awesome. If money doesn't grow on trees, then why do banks have branches? Virginia governor candidate Terry McAuliffe hires Clinton lawyer Mark Elias, and people will, you know what? We won't hear from them. DeSantis, my man DeSantis, Wisconsin sheriffs hold press conference outlining 2020. Okay. Looks like he doesn't talk about Jabby status reports what's going on in your region. All right, let's see. Saw that. Hold on just a second. And okay. All right. Florida celebrates lowest COVID rates in the nation despite Biden and political healthcare system attacks. All right. So he didn't talk about one of the things that's interesting. So and here in Georgia, it looks like David Perdue, our defeated senator who lost to Clowney John Ossoff, the rich boy, the little rich boy, is contemplating running for governor against Brian Kemp. Now, I'm telling you right now, if you think David Perdue has a chance in hell to be governor, you're wrong. What's David Perdue running for governor? He's trying to split the anti-Brian Kemp vote. What's all Stu Peters going off on my man Vernon Jordan too, by the way? Isn't that interesting? That's odd. I got to wonder about Stu Peters. What's his animosity towards my man Vernon Jordan? I don't like that. So what's happening here is you got to divide and conquer things. So Brian Kemp, and I like Brian Kemp. I'm not voting for him. I'll vote him if he wins the primary, which he probably will. But I hope he doesn't. But anyway, so I will be voting for Vernon Jordan in the primary. So the reason I say that is because we're going to throw David Perdue in there. So we got people who they might be turned off by Stu Peters' attack on Vernon Jordan. They might be turned off by Vernon Jordan because he used to be a Democrat. I don't know. They might be this, but this is what they do, man. They flood the zone, and the one guy left standing is usually the incumbent. This is what the Republicans do all the time to keep their rhinos in office. And so what happens is the rhinos get in, and Kemp was good during vax stuff and COVID. He was bad during the monitoring of the election, and as such, I can't vote for the guy in the primary because that right there, this right here caused what we're going through. What happened in Georgia? All it took was one Republican to say it was the fairest and freest election we've ever seen in the history of mankind. And again, my vote did count. I'm not saying my vote didn't count. My vote was counted. It was just counted for Biden. But all it took was one Republican to eliminate the narrative and say, even Republicans say this is the cleanest and fairest election. And Brian Kemp was played. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I literally don't understand it. I get Raffensperger because he's just afraid. He's just another white rich guy who's just scared of any black person calling him a racist. Stacey Abrams rolled him. He did not want to be called a racist. I think there's more to it actually than that. I think there's some very ill-gotten gains by old Raffensperger. I can't prove it. It's alleged, FYI, but I think there's a lot more to it. Kemp, I don't get, man. I get Kemp. I don't get why he didn't trust Raffi. He should have been on that like white on rice, and he wasn't. And here we are today because of what happened in Fulton County. It all became in my county right here because they didn't police that up like they said they were going to. It allowed shenanigans to happen in Wisconsin and Arizona because that said, hey, even Republicans say it's free and fair. They're freaking idiots, man. That Brian Kemp is on him. And frankly, it's on Trump. I'm not going to lie to you. At the end of the day, Trump fell for the scare tactics, which allowed the mail-in voting. I'm telling you, is Trump part of the cabal? I don't know. But at the end of the day, he fell for it. Now, Trump can't say to individual states, you should have mail-in ballots. He can't. I get that. I like that. We have we're a federalism. However, by falling for the fear-mongering and perpetuating it, Trump allowed the fear-mongering to be perpetuated so that states would not feel weird by having mail-in ballots. And then even here in Georgia, we had these ballot boxes that were the whole thing is nuts. It's water under the bridge now, but it freaking still pisses me off. And Brian Kemp should not be reelected for governor just from that alone because he couldn't police up his own state. So Stu Peters is going after Vernon Jordan. Then we got, what's his name? Purdue coming in. Why? Because Purdue will split the anti-Kemp vote between Vernon Jordan. And Purdue said, well, I don't like that Vernon Jordan guy, so I'm going to vote for Purdue. If you're a Republican and you vote for Purdue, you're a freaking fool, man. The only reason you're doing that is because you're essentially thrown in with the rhinos. There's no way. Look, if Purdue can't beat Ossoff, anyway, all right, let's keep going. Yeah, but they can't. They can't build it because Sniffy Joe says we can't. Exactly. I mean, this is the thing. Cuomo has said you cannot have pipelines going through the state of New York. He has the right to do that. It's freaking insanity, but he has the right to do that. In New Jersey, what you have these pipelines kind of bypassing New York State, going up through the northeast quarter of New Jersey and kind of going through that Long Island Sound and stuff. New Jersey basically saying, no more pipelines. So how is the natural gas going to get to northern New England or New England as a whole? Can't go through New Jersey, can't go through New York. I mean, that's the thing. You can build the Dakota pipeline all day long, but if you can't get it to the net result, it sucks, man. Now, for the rest of us, we're like, sweet, we'll take it. I mean, it's just more for us. Sucks for you guys, but, that's the end of the day. My man here, Antonio, says his house in Silicon Valley has paid off and is significantly safe for retirement. Right on. Right on. Broken Prop says, can't eat your house. Right on. All right. Keith said he retired last April. Having a great life. Don't be scared of retiring, said Chicken Charlie, because Charlie's a chicken. He's 51 and retired. My wife works part-time for health insurance, no debt. Man, that's freaking awesome. All because of global warming. Well, Jake, I mean, you can see. So Jake says the increase in the markets today, tell me the world's going to say, no, man. Anytime there's negative GDP numbers, that is a loosening of the Federal Reserve, which is a goosing of the markets essentially. Loose money is inflation for assets without question. And so now that they're saying the GDP was way down, they're going to say that at the end of the day we can't tighten, and as such the markets respond accordingly and favorably towards that. This can't go on forever. That's a fact. Yeah, I know this is gonna be crazy. The massive spending bill. It's no way. No, that can't be, Rick. No way. There's no way. Biden is looking to give 450,000 to every illegal family that was separated. No way. That can't be. I hope it is. You want to get some blacks to vote for the Republicans? This right here will do it, man. I hope that's if that's true. Literally, if that is true, their handlers are a hell of a lot stupider than I could have possibly. That just can't be. I got to look this up. No way, man. I just got to look this up. We go to DuckDuckGo. Illegal immigrants. Immigrants. I'm seeing from right-wing places, which I don't have any. All right, hold on just a second. I see some right-wing outlets, which is okay, but let's look at Washington Examiner, which I actually trust. Not that I don't trust Breitbart and stuff, but I actually don't even. I just let's see what this says here. This is from the Washington Examiner. The Biden administration is reportedly considering paying out officials from the Department of HHS have proposed paying each person $450,000 to settle claims about the lasting traumatic. And the Wall Street Journal report. No way, dude. One DHS attorney involved in the settlement talks lamented in a conference call that migrant families could have received more money than the families of people killed on September 11th. Man, I hope they do, man. I love it. I hope. Look, it takes stuff like this to change people, to recognize. It takes stuff like this to get people to say, yeah, these guys are freaking nuts. The Green New Deal is I thought would be the end, but it's not. For some reason, people are still convinced in the solar photovoltaic. I don't understand it, but they just want to be convinced. It's weird. But it takes stuff like this, the even idea, and it might be a trial balloon, but it looks like it's more than a trial balloon. It looks like it's part of a negotiation. And if holy crap, I mean, so someone had to propose that, and someone had to say, yeah, it sounds like a good idea, let's move this forward. Oh man, I hope that's true, man. I hope that's true. All right, so Kim asks a forever question: why is cash so important to stagflation? Because cash won't drop in value relative to its previous year's value. Now, will cash purchasing power drop? Absolutely, 100%. But here's what happens with cash and stagflation. What happens? I don't have the spreadsheet up anymore. Damn. What happens with short-term rates? All right, and this is why we're seeing the flattening of the yield curve. Short-term rates go up. Long-term rates stay flat or go down. So short-term, well, actually, the long-term rates might go up a little bit too, but not to the extent. Remember, so during the inflationary times of the 70s and early 80s, short-term debt paid more interest than long-term debt. I don't think a lot of people recognize that. Very few people wanted to be locked into long-term debt, if that makes sense, relative to short-term. So they're turning over their debt, every 6 months, every year, every 2, every 5. because they didn't want to be locked in while the inflation numbers are going through the roof. So cash, because it's a short-term, essentially, it's not a debt, but it's a debt obligation to your bank. I mean, your bank is literally a debtor to you in terms of what they owe you. If you look at a P&L statement, their assets, a bank's assets, are the loans outstanding. Their liabilities are their deposits outstanding. It's weird. It's hard to kind of grasp that. But a bank, I'm just telling you right now, their assets are the amount of money that they've loaned out. That is considered an asset. The liability is the amount of money they have on deposit. So anyway, with a bank with deposit products, if they want to retain those deposit products, they got to increase their short-term debt, short-term interest rates. Now, and on top of that, the Federal Reserve Board, as they raise, or the Fed, as they start raising the short-term rates, and this is where the Fed actually, as they raise short-term rates, they'll be reflected in CDs, money markets, savings accounts, and things of that nature. Now, the interesting thing is we've never been here before. So all these economists or any of you guys like, yeah, it doesn't matter. No one knows. Banks have so much money, so much liquidity, so much. They don't want your money. They don't need to compete for your money like they used to have to do. They have so much deposits on file. They don't want your damn money. On top of that, they're not getting enough lending going as an asset, that they have too much liability and not enough asset because they don't want to pay interest on your money that they don't want because they already have too much. This is where Richard, hold on a second. Oh, hey, buddy. Boy, if I can find that book. I'm not going to find it, but The Holy Grail of Macroeconomics by Richard Koo talks about this. When people stop borrowing, the banks are running dry because a bank asset is they lend money. And if you don't lend, and instead you save, that is a balance sheet recession. And in Japan, that was bad. And it's going to be bad here too. On top of the fact, just like Japan had 13 years of 14, 15 years, I don't have the spreadsheet up, but 15 years of significant growth in their markets with just one down year, almost to the perfect what we have. It's a balance sheet recession, which is inherently deflationary. But now, on the other hand, Japan still benefited from cheap foreign goods, foreign products, foreign exports, cheap energy prices and all that. So we have the foundation of a Japanese economy in the 90s on top of the stagflation of the 70s with high energy bills, high food prices and stuff, with a supply chain that's breaking apart at the seams. I'm telling you, man, it's everything it's like the double whammy hits. It's like Japan plus the stagflation, which is why the long term is deflationary. The short term is definitely inflationary, stagflation. You can see it's a mile away. I could be absolutely wrong. We've never been here before. It's nuts. And any economist who says, I don't care if it's Paul Samuelson, Milton Friedman, the economist, who's the day, Pinker, whatever the dude's name is, Steven Pinker, who's the economist of the day? Oh, Friedman. I don't get none of these fools, man. I don't care if it's Stephanie Kelton. I don't care if it's my man, Andrew Biggs over at AEI, who just wrote a great article on Social Security, by the way, which I was going to do a video on. I just forgot. We've never been here. We have never been here. We don't know what's going to happen. But to assume that it'll just be like it was for the last 40 years, it just seems fanciful to me. I wouldn't make that assumption. So if we look at what happened during stagflation, cash actually did fine. I mean, you lost a little bit of money, purchasing power, but you didn't get smoked like the stocks and bonds did. And you still, if you had it in short-term turnover debt instruments you could turn over on quickly, you actually did okay. Same thing in Japan. Cash and bonds did okay in Japan relative to stocks, even though Japan was going through a low inflation time. In America, we were going through a high inflation time in the 70s. So cash and stagflation, we don't know, but the two times we had Japan, horrible economy, deflation, cash did fine. The one time we had stagflation in the United States, cash didn't do good. I mean, don't get me wrong. You lost purchasing power, but if you invested in short-term debt instruments, you actually did okay, without question. Yeah, 100%, man. So I tell you, the funny thing is, this is why I was doing my video the other day on. You better buy some freaking storage food. You can't eat Bitcoin. You can't eat gold. I like gold because gold can be transitioned as a barter mechanism to other food, but you can eat food. You can heat your house with firewood at 100%. You can drink water. These are the things you buy to profit against inflation: is food, water, heating sources, 100%, man. Buying, I don't know, inflation protected bonds, that doesn't make, I mean, I get some, I grant you, but that doesn't make any sense. You can't eat the bonds. You got to turn them to cash. And how do you turn things to cash? You got to sell it. All right. We don't know what the price is. We don't even know if you're going to have access to it. We don't know what liquidity is going to be. We have no idea. I do know I have my man Jake in Western Mass, which I'll be come visiting when I get cold. I'll say, Jake, you got 3 years. Hook me with some firewood. Jake said, I will, but you got to trade me with some chicken eggs. He said, that's how it works, man. 100%, Rick. If I want to destroy America, I do everything. Well, it's not just Biden. I mean, let's not forget George. I think ultimately it goes back, to George H.W. Bush, frankly. I really do. Reagan, he was good. He was a net good. Nixon was horrible. Carter was horrible. Reagan was a net good. George H.W. Bush was bad, 100% bad. Reagan was still worse than a lot of people on my side of the right wing gives him credit for, though, when he gives the trade policies. Ross Perot was 100% right. The giant sucking sound to the South was predicated on Reagan and George H.W. Bush's economic policy, 100%. And frankly, it started with Carter, but it's predicated on that. But and he was right, man. Ross Perot turns out to be a genius. Clinton, Tony Blair in Europe, Angela Merkel. I mean, all just freaking fools. George W. Bush, the war machine. Then you got Obama, the government printing machine, the wokeness, the racial hatred that came from that guy, just horrible stuff, man. So you got the hatred against Islam, the hatred against non-believers in the Patriot Act. And I was part of that. I'll tell you right now, I didn't hate Islam, but I was like, man, these guys, we got to get them over there I fell for that hook, line, and sinker. It was wrong. It's stupid of me. I fell for the Patriot Act. I fell for it all. I was a big freaking fat hypocrite, and I feel guilty for falling that. And I did. I got suckered into believing the CIA, the DHS. I was the FBI. I thought they're the good guys. They're not, man. Just turns out they're not. So I got suckered into it, like many of you on the right did as well. The left got suckered into Obama, thinking everything's a racial war, white supremacists under everything. We can just spend. It's all good. And at the end of the day, no one has to work. We don't have to have manufacturing. We don't have to have freaking anyone. We don't have to have pipelines. I mean, it's all one big cabal, man. So depending on Biden itself, that's too much. But I agree. If we're falling, we're a tree in the forest, right? And we're falling. Biden is the last hit to make that sucker fall, 100%. I tell you, man. But see, but it won't matter, Marie. You can force fossil fuel on us all day long. I mean, you can force renewables on us all day long. Renewables don't heat your house. I mean, this is the issue. You've got to heat your house. Renewables don't fly the plane. They don't drive the train. They don't transport the goods from China. Renewables don't do any of this. Renewables, all they do is give you a source of electricity. Even that is not very much. And even that's intermittent. So they can raise fossil fuel prices all day long, but it's not because they're going to force renewables, because that's inherently is impossible. It's but because they want us to consume less, because they want to fly, that they don't have to deal with Marie on the coach. They don't have to work. They don't want you around, Marie, but they have the money to afford it. So fossil fuel transportation will be for the wealthy elite. Everything else is going to be going back to the old school economy of just localized, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But everything else is so expensive that you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg to ship products from overseas. You won't be able to get your oranges from freaking Hawaii, where the hell they're grown, in December. It's not going to happen. It's too expensive to transport. But the rich will, because they can afford it. You see what I'm saying? The upper 0.1% can afford all that crap. They can still fly to Paris. They can still fly to wherever rich people go. I don't know idea. Davos, wherever those places are in Sweden, Switzerland, I don't know. Wherever the rich people go, they will still be able to go, but you and I won't, because it's too expensive. it's like it's such a perfect plan. If you're in that area, the cabal, you're like, I don't want to deal with these freaking hicks in America. I just want to sit. What I don't even like eat my croissant or crump. I don't even know what the hell rich people do. But just you got your thing like this. They don't want to be around us. We're the rabble rousers. It's the perfect plan. It's a perfect plan, man. You make everything so expensive that they can't get on the airplane. They can't buy goods. They can't compete for you, for your basic, they just can't compete because they're just trying to get by day to day. I mean, it's brilliant. And it takes a lot of strategizing to do it, but it's working like a great thing. But fossil fuels aren't going away. Hell, it can't. It's like not possible. UK is raising interest rates. Yeah. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see. So what always happens when they raise rates, UK and Canada, small potatoes, they're nothing. I mean, Canada's got what, 28 million people, just not that big in the overall scheme of things. UK is a little bit bigger, but Canada certainly isn't. But what happens if you look through, basically, anytime the Fed raises, the stocks go down. That's just a fact. And so if the Fed goes on to a tapering phase, which I don't think they're going to do with these new GDP numbers, you'll definitely see a drop in the markets for sure. It's just 100% Ladybug. And this guy says we're negative Nellies. Okay, well, I mean, truth is hard. It's hard to fathom the truth. I think, what he would call us a conspiracy theorist, I would call him a coincidence theorist. A lot of coincidences happening time and time again there, my man, whoever said that. Mr. Andy CM. A lot of coincidences happening. So I call you a coincidence theorist. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's the government bonds. I mean, this is where we've always gone back to. I mean, what happens is if you're buying funds, not individual government bonds. So I think a lot of times, and I might be something to do with this too, but I probably wasn't explaining myself enough. If you buy a 10 or a 20 or a 30-year treasury in high interest rates, you're going to get crushed. If you buy a plethora of bonds through a Ginnie Mae fund or an intermediate government bond fund, you're going to be fine. And the reason is because they have some short, some intermediate, some longer term. And so the average maturity is 6-7 years or something like that. So you're probably not getting the yields that you would on a 10, 20, or 30 year, but you're taking a whole lot of the duration risk off because you're not locked in for 10, 20, 30 years. And so at the end of the day, when I say bonds got smoked in the inflationary times of the 70s, I need to be better at clarifying. That meant buying individual bonds and holding them through duration. You got smoked. There's no other way around that. Now, if you bought mutual funds of a bunch of bonds, you didn't get smoked. You didn't make as much yield either. I'll tell you that right now. Until the rates started going up again, and then you started making more and more yield as they're turning over the bonds. So we don't want, in my opinion, I wouldn't touch individual bonds to save my life right now. Funds, government funds, Ginnie Mae, 100%. All right. Yeah, and there's a good point. Brad Kimple, if you have cash during a recession, lots of good buying opportunities present themselves. I completely agree. All right. Yeah, I hope they go crazy down there, man. Trump in Atlanta. Look, man, as much as I bag on Trump, the guy's a political genius. He knows how to rile people up. This is perfect. Obama's good at this too, mind you. Obama's pretty good at being a political, he wasn't afraid, and Trump isn't either. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. All right, so let's see. Does anyone tell Kim what the Brandon thing is? Yeah, right here, 100%. Right here. So Kim, Mark says, just look YouTube and search NASCAR Brandon. So what happened, Kim, is some lady was interviewing it sounds like a minor league NASCAR guy who won, and they were saying F Joe Biden. F Joe Biden. And the lady, I think I don't think she did it nefariously. I just think in her mind, she said, wow, your crowd is really excited about you. They're screaming, let's go, Brandon. And a lot of people think she was being disingenuous. I don't think so. I just think she was kind of caught up in the moment. She heard F Joe Biden, and she thought I said, let's go, Brandon, because the guy's name was Brandon. So it's funny. And so instead of saying F Joe Biden, which is not safe for work, NSFW, let's go, Brandon is the equivalent of that, which is pretty cool. Yeah, 100%. So go golf, right on. No federal income tax. They still pay, the FICA, but 100%. The majority of Americans don't pay federal income taxes. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, so I think, this is all speculative and semantics, I suppose. So my man SV says, harder times are coming, but the efficiencies and dividends from internet, e-commerce, and access to all knowledge all the time will provide a harvest to this country for decades. Maybe. I think I agree with you. However, notice what's internet based on, what's e-commerce based on, is based on cheap energy, man. Cheap energy. Not just electricity, by the way, cheap energy. What I'm doing here is a hell of a lot more based on just electricity, the movement of electrons. This is based on all energy, transportation, mining, the whole thing. So while you're sitting there thinking the internet and e-commerce will be our salvation from hard times, we're only going to have harder than now times, which I completely agree. Everything revolves around cheap energy. I cannot stress this enough. No cheap energy, hard times. That's all there is to it, man. And if you think the internet is going to save you with rolling blackouts, I don't know what to tell you, man. I would say Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett. So Susan Rice has been a scoundrel since day one, through his Obama and Clinton administration. Valerie Jarrett actually controlled Obama. I mean, she's basically Obama's puppet master. Bad lady. Bad woman. Susan Rice is she's just swamp creature from hell for real. No other way around that. So bad people. Did you hear about Huma Abedin, whatever that chick's name is? Said she was sexually assaulted by a senator in 2003, but she didn't talk about it. Everyone wants to know, who is he? I was like, who is he? It's freaking Hillary, man. She's in love with Hillary. Hillary's in love with her. Look, come on, man. Hillary isn't getting with Bill. We know that because Hillary doesn't like men. She hates men. Yeah, I was like, freaking, what's that chick? Huma said, Hillary did it. I cannot believe people don't get it. Hillary sexually assaulted her. You can see that a mile away. She doesn't want to say who the senator was because she wants to live. I mean, come on, people. It's like, I was like, wait, Huma Abedin, whatever her name is, got sexually assaulted by a senator who goes nameless. Hillary, it's so obvious. Come on. And she's not going to name who that senator was. And she's going to put it on whoever, freaking, I don't know, Al Franken. I think he was senator back then, but who knows? That's Hillary, dude. Come on, man. Hillary's like, hey, drunk, because she's drunk as a skunk. She hates men. Huma was, I don't even know if she's married to that weird guy who's, I think, in jail now for trying to get with a young girl, whatever the hell it is. But, she's obviously, look, man, this is who's running the show. It's crazy. 4 years expenses in the bucket one. Absolutely. 4 years expenses. That doesn't mean all has to be in cash. I mean, again, cash and Ginnie Mae short-term bonds and CDs are in my mind synonymous. Just that the way. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Anytime there's low interest rates, home prices are inflated without question. Does that mean they'll drop? I mean, I got no idea. Yeah. Turn my natural gas. We did too, man. First time. I can only imagine what the bill's going to be. It's funny because we got a pool house here, which has a heating mechanism, which is based on natural gas. What you think next year we're going to be heating the pool? We only heat it like once or twice a year. We don't really do that much. We're in the deep south, so it doesn't get. We don't need it. In the beginning of the year, we'll heat it a couple times, or if we have friends coming over. But to heat, I can't remember how many gallons we have. But anyway, to heat the pool with natural gas, that's going to be a luxury very, very few people have. Probably the next year. That's for damn sure. Yeah, stocking up the pantry with some extra canned food. Yep, 100%. Food prices going up. Yep, that's what you got to be doing, man. And listen, my friends. You're stocking up you got an ice box or a second freezer, which you should have. You better have a secondary way to keep that sucker plugged in. I'm telling you, get yourself an inverter. Always have your car filled up with gasoline, and get yourself some alligator clips so you can use your battery from your vehicle, which is run. You turn it on, the starter kicks in, the battery to the engine turns over. It's sending the electricity to the battery, going back and forth, and you take these alligator clamps and you plug them into an inverter, which converts the 12-volt battery into 120 volt that you can plug your ice box in. That way you don't lose all that freaking food right out the gate. I'm telling you, man. Now, how long will a car idle on a full tank of gas? Obviously, we want to make sure part two of this, we want to make sure that you're not in there drinking that carbon monoxide. So you want to have a window open or something like that. But I don't know, probably lasts 18, 24 hours or something like that, if not longer, actually. Can last quite some time. And that means you can keep that freezer going while the electricity's out for a lot longer than you could if it just went out and you weren't ignorant of it. I'm telling you, man, get yourself an inverter and get yourself some alligator clamps and freaking learn how to use your battery in your car as a backup generator. It's just that simple. If you don't, you're going to wake up one day, electricity's out, everything's melting, and you don't know when it's going to come back in, and now you lose your meat. It's not good, man. So, all right. You got to take the plunge by the end of the year. Yeah. If I think rates go up, will that automatically crash? I don't know what crash specifically means, but anytime they raise rates, the price falls. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. 20% correction is normal. 20% is actually not even a correction anymore. It's called the bear. That's freaking drop that happens all the time. 20% decline is nothing. I'm looking more at a 2008 time, and I don't know if it's gonna happen today. I don't know if it's gonna happen tomorrow. I don't know. I just what the hell's a jodel? Jodel? Nice fire. What's a jodel? I don't know what that is. But at the end of the day, I think you have to look at 2008 as your bogey to say this is what we got to protect against for sure. All right. Dan paid off his mortgage last week. Right on, man. All right. I think no, that's what it is now. They just lowered it, the blood pressure to 130. Nah, dude, I'm not on any blood pressure med. I'm not getting on a blood pressure med. I'm feeling good. Let's see. Replace cows with goats. More magnesium, Josh. Yeah, why I don't get it. Why replace cows with goats? I don't get it. All right. All right, my friends. I think I'm gonna get out of here. Tools of wood stove. Okay, never heard that. Yeah, interesting. Electricity can be made from magnets. Really? Whoa! I'm just giving you a hard time. The electricity is just it's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. But there's more to the world than just electricity, man. We need power. We need energy. And energy is a hell of a lot more consumption that we consume than just basic electricity. That's for damn sure. My man is Joe Tool. Joe Tool isn't using electricity. I'll tell you that right now. He's using good old fashioned fossil fuels because wood, right? It's fossil. Renewable energy to heat his home. I salute you, Jake Manchester, for being a green warrior using those renewables. All right, I got to run too. I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate y'all being here, man. All right, my man SV says, oh, right here says, right here, the blood pressure meds make you feel 90. I lost 120 pounds and collected the cholesterol blood pressure, yeah, it's just diet. In fact, I'm telling you, man, just real quick, and I'll get out of here. All right, I was always under the thought that aspartame and sucralose, while not great, weren't that bad for it. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. So I'm going to go on a big no aspartame, which is like zero, like sugar-free gum. I eat a lot of gum. Sugar-free soda. I drink a lot of that sparkling ice. I drink a eat low carb ice cream. All it's got aspartame, and I'm gonna get out of there, man. Because it looks like that might not be good for you too. So, whew, it might be like worse for me kicking all this and you all kicking cigarettes. So if you see me in a cranky mood, just give me a break. I'm getting rid of pronounced yodel. Okay, right on. I'm trying to kick my yeah, right here. Jill says 130 fine in your 50s. Yep. 100%, man. Yeah, I'm not touching. No way am I getting on blood pressure medication. No way, no how, man. Yeah, but zero Gatorade, I think, has got that aspartame or sucralose in it, Harry. I think it's got. I know. I just got to drink water, apples, and oranges. I just got to do it. But that's zero. I've been drinking a lot of that vitamin water from Costco, zero sugar. But I think that's got aspartame in there too, man. And I gotta. I eat a lot of beef. I love beef, man. Oh man. Yeah. Artificial sugar, very bad. Already dropping that caffeine too by drinking your caffeine-free coffee. Yeah, I am. 100%, man. Yeah. Now I don't think rates are going up anytime soon. I mean, they could. I don't think so. I don't think they're going up. Oh, interesting. I dumped diet for over a year, water only. Didn't notice any change at all. Yeah, everybody's different. 100%, Mark. I completely agree with that. Water with lemon. Ooh, that does sound all right. I think stevia, I think is still pretty good. So I might, I got a bunch of stevia. I don't like it as good as my other stuff, but I think stevia is pretty good. So I think maybe squirt some lemon in there with some stevia on some seltzer water or something like that. Because I like one of the problems, I don't drink alcohol. One of the hard part with quitting is I miss the carbonation. The alcohol when you're drinking a beer, just the whole thing. When you have an addictive personality, which I do, you open the beer, it does a dopamine kick, and you're drinking it. The whole kick. It's like when we're smoking. You open up the pack and you light it. You know what I'm saying? It's like it has this whole production that's hard to break, man. It's hard to break, and so for me, I just like the carbonation. That's why just drinking water in of itself, I need something to kick with it for sure. But all right, I can get out of here, man. Monk drops. Yeah, right on. All right, I am gonna get out. I appreciate it. God bless y'all. See ya. Appreciate y'all being here.